Recording is on.
Yo, welcome to another edition of the Geeky Bros podcast. I'm your boy Tactix.
Yo, it's just Darcy here.
This is Big Geek Umar. How y'all doing today? Actually, how y'all doing today?
Yeah. Actually, that's the first time your timing has been good. You gotta be in person for this to work.
Well, to answer your question, I am exhausted.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very exhausted.
And so am I, because he hosted a training. I went to that training. It was dope. And you went there.
I was out
Oh,
But yeah, so we are giving our reaction video as promised because our boy Darcy here watched Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings last night.
yes, I did, absolutely.
So we are going to do a reaction video right here, right now, while all three of us are together. And we just figured, why not just video it? So, T, let me start with you, actually. Because, you hate when I bring you on first. So, what did you think?
I don't hate it.
Okay.
I'm the guy like loading the photos. So sometimes I'm not ready. I'm like, don't start with me, guy. I haven't set anything up yet. But I don't gotta do that today.
Yeah, pulls out a photo.
So what do you think, then?
So overall, I liked it. I enjoyed myself. I was thoroughly entertained throughout. The only thing I'll say is that it kind of took me out of it a little bit. And I understand this from like a culture perspective, why they did this. But the part with the dragons just kind of threw me off completely. I was like in it watching one movie, and then it got to that part, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in a completely different movie. It went from like, a Jackie Chan film to like Godzilla. I was like, what's going on right now? So that kind of threw me off a little bit because I was hoping that they would stick with Mandarin as the main villain, especially considering that they had set up the debacle that they did with Iron Man 3 and making Trevor a fake Mandarin, and then they retconned that and then I thought that they were going to try and correct that in this, which they kind of did. But even in that conversation, that dinner scene where he was like, the Mandarin is just like it's not even a real name. It's like they named me after like a fruit. And I was like, wait, what? And then at the end, he ended up not only being like, he was like, he wasn't even really evil. I mean, he was, but then he was kind of like,
He wasn't the main villain.
yeah. And so that kind of was a little bit of a letdown for me. So that was probably one of my cons in regards to the movie. What I did like about the movie were the action scenes, especially the fighting. Like, it was probably one of great fight choreography, hands down. Especially that bus scene. That bus scene was like one of my favorite action scenes. Like, there was a lot of really cool stunts in there. Simu did his thing. The comedy was pretty well done. It wasn't too over the top. I liked the dynamic between him and his friend, and how they didn't play up the whole love story thing. I mean, they kind of alluded that. They hinted that it could potentially happen, but for the start, they're just friends. So that was cool. I think
What would you give out of 10?
I think I'd give it a 7.8. It's my gut reaction right now.
Dang, okay.
Yeah.
7.8. Yeah.
7.8.
I thought it was 7 out of 8 when you were saying that for a second. I was like, wait, what?
My math ain't too strong.
Yeah, that's my hearing.
How about you, Darcy?
I really enjoyed it. As much as I understand the point of like the dragons kind of taking it out a little bit, the thing for me also is like, I live in a home where I watch, like I watch it, but I come across it a lot where culturally they're watching those types of like Asian movies and the fantasticalness of them in terms of like those creatures. And so it does feel like at the end of the movie, it shifted very much to a different movie, but I like that they also started in America and then tied it back into like his history of his culture, and then they took you into this mythical world, which they're obviously setting up for like how that's going to interconnect. Like, they're really expanding the universe. They got like the multiverse stuff that's happening, like it's really going to open wide in terms of how crazy what they're going to be able to do with Marvel, where they've been really grounded before. So they kind of did that with this movie as well. They're like, we're going to start grounded and very quickly take this into a very fantastical realm of things. One thing I gotta throw here is like our dude with the like heat blade arm. he felt like a GI Joe character for me.
Yeah.
but I love the dynamic with him and his friend, played by Aquafina. Aquafina is amazing.
She's awesome.
Like
Yeah.
she's really on point. The one thing also too for me is like it's a little different. Like I said, I'm in a household where I see what these films are a little bit about, like in a small context. But my partner is Asian, and so at the end of the film, she had a more emotional reaction to it, like the similar that you and I had for like Black Panther.
Yeah.
And it was like she was like it was amazing to see all of those beings because they are actually really important and they're well done and they were like in a more accurate depiction, and the dragon is the one above all else. And so the way it was depicted and how it was the one above all else was big, because she immediately said she's like the director, the producer, whoever behind this, they actually really understood the stuff that like at least she had experienced when she was growing up. So that was really big. Overall, I feel like I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. For me, I'm not a big origin film, but I enjoyed this one. There was heart with the family and the connection. I enjoyed that the father just decided to make a sacrifice. I just liked how they were constantly tying back to all of these moments of their childhood and young life with the father. How he met the mother, and he kept tying it back from everyone's different perspectives on these moments, which is fantastic. And I love how it opened up. I love how it opened up in a very classic Chinese narrative introduction. Like when the mother and the father met and they're fighting, it was very much like a
dance.
A dance, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was also felt like a play on a stage, the actual backdrop was like
a folklore, you're seeing a folklore tale being brought to life.
In it, and then immediately they were also telling as a narrative, so it completely made sense for it to be depicted like that. And then it gets pulled into America, and then it's like a complete hilarious flip. I really enjoyed it. It was a really solid film, and I look forward to how this is going to connect into Doctor Strange. For anybody who hasn't realized at this point, we spoil it for you. So, but yeah, I just like the whole Wong connection, and we could end this reaction here, or
So thank you for that. So for me, I gotta say, I think I loved it the most out of the three of us. For me, it was an 8.5 out of 10. However, there is a caveat. I did see it in at Pickering, reclining seats D-box.
Oh, I saw it in D-box too.
Yeah,
that was good.
Basically, my feet were up. I was just sitting there and I'm moving along with everything that's going on. So that's it adds a 0.5 to whatever movie
anybody
you're watching.
who likes watching D-box, this is a D-box film, because the fights, you get knocked around.
It's definitely not for me then. I don't like D-box.
Bro, the bus scene in D-box.
Lord,
I was just like,
Yo, my girl was out here trying to eat.
Yeah.
It was flying.
That's exactly why I don't like D-box. You're trying to eat your popcorn.
Let me get that for you.
Here you go. So I think I just was really excited. I saw it the opening night, and for me also, I had a lot going on with this because I'm a fan of Tony Leung, who plays Wen Ru / the Mandarin / the father. So I've seen him in I think 4 Asian films, and I'm that guy's got range. And then he comes in and he's you think he's gonna be a cookie cutter dad, like a villain sort of style, but then he brings such weight and depth to this villain, and it really is surprising that the main villains that stick with me from MCU, because let's say MCU doesn't do a great job when it comes to villains. So the 4 that I recognize are the Mandarin, the actual one with Tony Leung, Loki, of course, with Tom Hiddleston, Thanos with Josh Brolin, and of course Killmonger from Michael B. Jordan.
On that point though, Loki, I feel like only gets that because of how much content we've seen. I think if you take it at Avengers only, because the thing about what's great about all those villains is you can understand their viewpoint and you can empathize with them because they give you an understanding of their character and their history, right? Like you understand their point of view and how they got there and you empathize with it. But when Loki first came in, I don't feel like I felt any of that in the Avengers. It's everything post that that's giving me more.
Well, they kind of gave it in Thor because of
Thor was one of the kind of because he was a favorite in Thor, and then when they made him Avengers, they're like, oh, okay, so he's going to be the Avengers main villain. It's like, oh, he does a really good job. So it was kind of like, but what the description you gave of like what makes a great villain in the MCU, they gave that to Loki in the first movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel you, though I don't remember it having that weight. I kind of want to go back now that you're saying that and get a feel for it. But I feel like I love him so much for what's happened over the years and not as much for when he was at that point. Like, I felt like he was a memorable and good villain, but I didn't feel like I was taken back, like I emotionally felt impact from him. I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to forget him.
Yeah.
He's far better than a lot of the other villains that I can't remember from other films. Like, who was the villain in Loki in Thor 1?
Loki.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. See, I don't remember that movie at all. I don't remember that movie at all. I definitely don't remember who the villain was in Thor 2. But exactly my point, right? Like, he's memorable, but he doesn't feel like the same way as like when
you also have like 10 years of Loki.
But to be fair too, though, like Thor wasn't something I know for me. I didn't rewatch it. I've only seen it once. And it didn't hit me enough to want to rewatch it again. Like Winter Soldier, I could watch over and over again.
For you, Thor is it's like a sci-fi Shakespearean.
It's not marketed for me at all.
Almost like the fact you watched it, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, Ragnarok. Now that was a good film.
Yeah,
I'm an outlier on this. I'm not a fan of how
I love the movie. I don't love the villain. I don't love the sister thing. I don't like that at all.
They butchered her character.
I don't like her, and I don't like the whole like whatever.
I'm not a fan of like comedy.
But everything else that happened in that, I loved everything else that happened. I love like Korg. I love Loki in the film. I love everything but the villain in that film.
For me, the reason why like Ragnarok is like something that I can watch, I can have fun, but like I'm not going to enjoy it to my core because. For me, Thor is meant to be Shakespearean. It's meant to be like this heavyweight stuff. And they made that all jokes. And they also changed something that could have been a very poignant moment. Like, for example, Hela is Loki's daughter. And when I was going in to see Ragnarok, I'm like, this movie's like, it's getting great reviews. This thing is going to be like super subtle and like have such emotional weight to it because they're going to show that Loki has been a terrible father
to
the god.
Expectations.
Yeah. I was so outside the box, and I was like, "So this is what we're doing with this." Okay, and like ever since then, I'm like, "Okay."
I gotta say though, that's Shakespearean. They tried it twice. It didn't work.
For me, it did. But the problem was
this guy feel like Thor 2.
Yeah.
Thor 2 had like their villain was bad, but like their family elements were on point, and like Loki did kind of point out the fact.
I'm just saying, if you had your way, like Thor wouldn't exist.
I completely admit that I'm like that crazy comic book dude on the side who's like, how dare they ruin Thor? I'll be that guy for this one time.
So you don't like the change that they made with Thor?
For Ragnarok, like I like.
Well, Ragnarok going forward, like
I loved him in Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah. Like his entire, in that 2 movies, his arc was brilliant. Mm-hmm. And the fact is that they showed him doing dramatic, comedy, back and forth, and then really freaking sad.
Yeah.
And then action. Like he took punishment from Thanos, and then when like Cap picks up his hammer. He's not like being toxic male. He's like, my man, I knew it. I knew it.
I loved that. I mean, who did not love Cap with the hammer? I mean, just like period.
Even Thor loved it with that.
Exactly.
And then it's like, no, you get the small one.
Yeah.
Let's not get this twisted.
But like, okay, so going back to Shang-Chi, for me, Tony Leung killed it. He was a great villain. Spoilers, I'm sad they killed him. I don't think they needed to do it. And personally, this is my thing. I'm with you, Tactix. I kind of like. I liked seeing Ta Lo. I like getting the mythology there. Mm-hmm. They just went way too much, and they definitely went the whole like Marvel need a big ending with like CGI and all this graphic stuff. they didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
If they kept it between father and son,
Mhm.
I was talking this to Darcy. What I would have liked, and y'all could be disagreeing with me, you will. If they had just focused on the fact that the dad was the only villain,
Mhm.
and that they stopped him before, like he got to Talo, but he didn't open no nothing, and that he takes the rings from him, and then the daughter like takes him and arrest, and they have him arrested and stuff.
Yeah.
But then the daughter takes over the 10 rings,
Yeah.
and it ends with him realizing he's been ignoring the wrong child.
Yeah. I would have liked that. I would have been down with that story.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, so going back to the rest of the review, I loved Tony Leung. I love the Mandarin. What you were saying about like Asian American, the fact that they focused on that, and the fact that like they also had such a culturally relevant dialogue about like people who were born in China, who emigrated over, who had kids, who like and then like lived here, and then they don't really connect well with going back home. Granted, it's thrown in with a bunch of supervillain aspects. The fights were great. Oddly enough, like I love. Don't get me wrong, I love the bus scene and like all the other like fight sequences.
Mhm.
But the one that actually like had me on the edge of like, okay, all the fights had me on the edge of my seat. One that nearly got me like jumping out of my seat was when he was facing the person with the mask,
Yeah.
and like he almost kills him and is stopped by the dad.
Mhm.
That part I was like, oh, that was awesome. And I was a little sad that got thrown out the window.
Yeah, they dropped the ball on that.
Yeah,
It's like,
there was no resolution there.
yeah.
I know. I was like, are we gonna take this mask off at some point in this film? Like,
And nothing.
Nothing.
At one point, I thought the masked person was gonna be his sister, and then I thought like the mask might be his mother, and like all these different types of
All
things.
of that, yeah.
I kind of feel like that masked person was supposed to be something, and then they decided to shift the story a little bit, and so the masked person just and the masked person dies at the end, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like we think like. I'm like, I get like there's like a hidden masked person in the thing, and there's cultural relevance, all that stuff, and they're never supposed to probably reveal their face and all that kind of stuff. Like look, they're basically the Mandalorian, right?
Yeah.
But like, I wanted to see it.
Yeah, at least give us a final showdown between those
Yeah,
two,
Because
you know?
there was so much hype for that
Yeah.
character, and then it was like, I don't know. I thought like, okay, all right, we're not going to get a great fight between Shang-Chi and the masked person. I thought we were going to get a great fight between his aunt. And then, but I didn't feel like the fight that we got between them was great. I thought, okay, Shang-Chi is elevated, so now you're only at B level, and this is the fight you're gonna have, and it was gonna be a wicked B level fight, because I forget her name, but like she's an amazing actor.
Michelle Yeoh,
like she's amazing, and everything she's done, even all the way to Star Trek Discovery, right? And so
Across the Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I know, but I just mean even to that show.
Yeah.
Shows,
Yeah.
like,
Also, that woman is not aged.
No, she
I
hasn't.
know. Oh, she's like, yeah, like when she was doing her thing in this movie, like okay, obviously it's very much what you just that movie mentioned. I always say it in the wrong order, so I'm not gonna say it. but I'm like looking at it and I'm like, did he just take a scene out of this film? Like, and then it's like CGI and Shang-Chi, like what are they doing? Yeah.
But yeah, so so the action sequences, I was all over the place. Like I just was really excited. I found myself like turning into like a little kid, like during all the romance scenes between the mom and dad thing. I'm just like, oh, and I'm like, what's wrong with me, man? You're a grown adult. And like, and I love that they didn't treat their audience dumb. They're like, no, these people are from China or from like, hell, they even talked about the differences in like Mandarin and Cantonese, and also that like just because you know one doesn't mean you know the other one. And like in the first like 10 minutes of the film is an Asian film. Like it's like talking about Asian backgrounds, everyone's speaking in different languages. I was like, thank you for like actually taking us to another a culture. And then you brought it up. Actually.
Oh yeah, I know you're going.
No, I'm gonna let you say it. I'm gonna let you say it.
Now that we've seen this film, for anybody who's watching this, okay, think about this film, and think about our good old friend from the Iron Fist, okay? And think about all the tonally subtle things that were missed. So here's one of the things I loved in this film, okay? So he's entering, I forget her character's name, but
Awkwafina's like the home, like her family home.
Yeah, and then the Awkwafina's apartment. Katie's apartment, right? And they take a quick second for the film to go to his feet to show him kick off his shoes before he goes into the apartment. Super culturally important. Like you not Asian and allowed to walk into someone's home and not take your shoes off. It's just a big thing. Like you get hit by somebody in your family, right? And so
or you get that look, you're like,
they show that, and I remember in Iron Fist, like the first episode, he made a point to like take them off, and then he just wore his shoes the rest of the time in his dojo. I'm like, first off, Asian wouldn't wear their shoes into anybody's home.
Yeah.
A dojo?
That's disrespect.
Like
that's his girlfriend's dojo too.
Yeah.
Like,
how'd she not break up with him?
Like it's like the amount of problem that is involved in that, right? And there's like so many other subtle things.
I wonder if he was responsible for that too. He was like, I'm not training and I'm not taking off my.
Oh no, I bet he was 100% responsible for that. But something else that was also super culturally like absolutely on point that I love is like I knew this from the minute he walked in after he took his shoes off and all the interaction with the family. I saw how the family was laid out and other whatever. Before he left, Grandma was like, "So when are you guys gonna get married?"
Yeah.
Literally, like he would not be allowed to leave, and it would always like. She was a very sweet grandmother because she asked him only compared to show you how Western she was compared to just saying it loudly in front of her.
Yeah.
Right? Like very big.
It wouldn't have been realistic if she hadn't said something.
My girl, I've walked into family gatherings with 40 people and seen 3 aunties that I've only ever seen 5 times in the last 8 years. And the first time I met them, were like, "When are you guys gonna get married?" That was the first words out of their mouth. I don't even know their names to this day. That was the first thing they asked me. 3 women just sitting on the couch like, "So when are you guys gonna get married?" Like, so legit.
It happens in South Asian communities, culture too.
So like legit. I'm like, that was on point. That was needed. That was like in the Pixar film, the Mexican one about the Day of the Dead, Coco, where like they had the like I think it's I forget what they call the word. It's like chocolo or something like that. I'm just wrong. But they the sandal and how like the grandmother would beat you with the sandal if you don't listen, and that's a very like Mexican cultural specific thing. It's like you have to include these things, otherwise it ends up feeling like Taco Bell or Chinese takeout.
Yeah,
you know.
And the thing about this movie is like you could tell this was made and written by an Asian American, because they're not talking about like Asian culture in general. They're talking about like what it's like for someone who grew up in the West and comes from the Asian culture.
Yeah.
Because like we don't have a lot of like that, because usually it's them assimilating or them like just being a background side character. But the fact that it was like front and center, they're like, okay, so these aren't people who just like born and raised in China who just fresh off the boat in America. It's like no, they were born somewhere. I kind of brought this. I'm not repeating myself, but it's like they were born and raised, or like they're raised in the West. They've adopted the West, but they don't really know how to interact with either. And I think it was done beautifully between like the Mandarin and Katy in their conversation. Like he was both being condescending and terrifying to her at the same time. Because like with him, yeah, like with him, when he's displeased, you won't die. Now we don't feel that when our parents look at us that way, but like still, with Tony Leung, he's scary.
Yeah, you know, so I also thought the second he also walked into the house, I was like, this whole scene feels like it's right out of Kim's Convenience.
Yeah.
Right? Like which is our main character's show that he came from out of Toronto. And I was like, I feel like that whole scene was literally like it was a little Easter egg in a way that like they filmed it and they kind of like ran it a little bit like Kim's Convenience, but a little bit different at the same time. Like there was like a nod to it that just felt like there was like a scene where he's staying in the hallway, and I'm like, this looks just like a scene out of the actual show he came from, just the way it was shot. And I'm like, yeah, I feel like they just put it in there to respect where he came from, and just, you know, because like he literally came from a show about Asians in the West.
Yeah.
So I mean, literally, you have to tie that in a little bit.
I got another question for the two of you, because we got to talk about it because everyone's talking about it. What do you think of the mid-credit scene?
Okay, so yeah, that was actually, there was 2 things I wanted to bring up. One, what's the deal with Abomination?
Oh, okay.
And then 2, the mid credit scene. Are you talking about the one with Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner?
Yeah.
So what's going on with Bruce Banner? Like that's my real question, because it's like there's a lot that's going on there. Like first of all, he's Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
His arm is still messed up,
which means it's really also close to the ending of Endgame.
But he pointed out something, we were talking about it. He's Bruce Banner again.
Yeah.
He's no longer Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
True that.
Because in Endgame, he was talking
Oh,
about how
yeah,
they merged
yeah.
together, and he put them together, and they became one. But now he's back to being Bruce Banner, and he looks older,
Yeah,
like much older,
And
like he's aged.
he's got more gray.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good point. And there definitely is at least what feels like at least a year passed because of how much hair Captain Danvers
Yes,
yeah,
that's true
grew,
too.
right?
I think it's been like a little over a year at this point because like Falcon and Winter Soldier was like what? No, sorry. So Wanda was 6 weeks after Endgame. WandaVision was 6 weeks after Endgame because they're even talking about how Vision's like, yo, dude, this just happened to her.
Yeah.
And that would mean that I think Falcon and Winter Soldier was like 6 to 8 months after Endgame.
Mm.
And then this would have to be like they're like legit being like this is like a year and a half afterwards.
I have a question. So in Endgame, when he does the snap,
Yeah.
do we see him do anything else after the snap?
He passes out.
He passed out. Yes, we don't see him fight or anything. I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
No, he did fight in the big battle.
He did fight in the big
Yeah.
battle.
Yeah, but like they didn't see him. They didn't show him fighting though. He was running with them when they went. But like I don't remember him actually like taking anyone out.
He didn't have any highlight moments.
Because I'm wondering if like the actual snap and what kept him alive, he's used so much like power that literally the Hulk is like gone dormant after the end game.
It's possible.
And he's just knocked out, and so Bruce Banner's taking the wheel for most of it, and maybe he'll come out when needed, but it's like he's literally been knocked out by this power. Or maybe something else has happened that's like emotional.
So anger is a part of stress, and so what if the stress is accelerating the aging process for him? Because that's essentially what happens when you're stressed in real life, right?
But the difference is for him, he was actually living his best life.
Yeah, but because
until
of
Endgame.
Darcy's point, when the snap happened, he used so much of his energy, and that was so much stress put on its body that it probably reverted whatever he did to become Professor Hulk.
To be fair, like Thanos, when he did 2 snaps essentially, like one, and then like he did the other one to destroy the stones. So like he was like broken.
Yeah.
And
Thanos took out Hulk, so they're not even on the same level.
Yeah. So like
I would play with Hulk.
Yeah. So I would say that it's possible. Like now, obviously, the fact that they showed Abomination is also interesting, and then they showed Hulk. Puny Banner. But the interesting thing is, She-Hulk is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no way they can have like I know Disney got money, but I don't think they have that much money to give one TV series so much CGI that they're going to have like 2 characters that are purely CG.
Mm.
I mean, they got the money. They ain't even paying Scarlo. That's $50 million right there. It's gotta be.
That's what the money is.
It's gotta be at least an episode.
Dude, you're like, yo, we took it from one woman, we gave it to another. We're still doing it. No, so here's an interesting thing. In the comics, how She-Hulk became She-Hulk is she was given a blood transfusion by Hulk, by Bruce Banner to keep her alive because she got shot.
Mm.
And she, as a result, like the radiation passed to her and mutated her, and she became She-Hulk as a result.
Mm.
It could be that he was probably maybe the snap did something to because it's partly gamma. So what if it affected his gamma radiation and became unstable? So he went back to, because the thing is, he was in a lab and he said he merged them 2 together, which means he's now had to separate them. Because even what's her name, the ancient one, when she jabbed him, she separated them.
Yeah.
So he may have separated them again for an unknown reason, or something that happened. Like, it could be from the Soul Stone, even. Like he could have talked to Nat or something and seen something when he talked to her. Because we don't know. Because we know Thanos saw something when he snapped. In the deleted scene of Endgame, Tony saw something when he snapped. Maybe Hulk saw something too. But nonetheless, like, I think the reason why they made him Banner again was that he could give the transfusion to She-Hulk in the new series. But Abomination is interesting because they definitely showed him for the first time since Incredible Hulk, which everyone seemed to have forgotten that movie existed.
or that it's connected.
Yeah.
I definitely never thought they were connected until people were like, "No, they're connected." I'm like, "Really?"
Well, Thaddeus Ross made sure that they were
I think
connected.
no, I just didn't want them to be because of
But like, so it is interesting that they showed Abomination. Maybe she'll, because she's a lawyer. Maybe she's going to be representing Abomination, or trying to keep him in prison.
Interesting. Also, it was interesting that like Wong is training him.
I don't think he was training him. I think he was using him.
No, but like after they were walking through the portal,
I think it's a scam.
Yeah, but he's like he worked on.
Yeah, because it's a scam. He's supposed to take a fall, and he was hitting too hard.
Oh yeah, for the fight, yeah, but
That's why I talked. I didn't see it as training. I saw it as like they were scam artists who were like rigging the system.
Yeah, but regardless, they're just they're so buddy. It's such a random and interesting thing. It also makes Wong so much cooler, like that plus the whole like they went out and did the karaoke party.
That was awesome.
But the thing that was like it was so dope about it is it's just like it makes his character so much more complex, and his character was already so cool to begin with.
Yeah.
I do want to ask both of you, who do you think the rings are calling out to?
That was a good one. I literally was like, yeah, I don't know anything about comics to know what the answer to this is.
Don't look at me. I'm not even gonna attempt. Guess. I have no idea where any of this is going.
Maybe it's related to the Eternals. Like
that's So that is one theory. I think they're calling to the Celestials, who basically created the Eternals, and that movie is coming out soon. Or is calling out to Galactus. That's another theory.
Interesting.
Do you know who Galactus is? Yeah. So
feels like a small character. We call it Galactus, but yeah, same time.
I mean, the only it could be calling to Mephisto.
Oh my god, everything's gonna be called Mephisto.
you took me seriously for a second. You're like, wait, no, never mind.
At this point, you might as well be called Professor X.
But yeah. So like, I actually, it was good to see. I really enjoyed that mid credit scene. The end credit scene was cute. I'm glad that they're showing that she's taken over and that she's changing things up.
Yeah.
The sister. I kind of felt that like. I felt kind of bad. Like now that the father's dead, that's the only thing that bothers me. It's like there's no resolution or there's nothing to do with the daughter and him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's fair. By the way, I gotta go back on this, but I love that like Wong, Awkwafina, and Shang-Chi all end up like at karaoke.
Yeah,
I just love it, and it was like they brought back the and then it's like there's like two people that are super powered, and one person's probably got hidden talents, and they're all just out like just doing a very typical like going to karaoke, having a good time. They're just not at all like they're just like regular people, and I love that.
I'm gonna go back to one of your points actually, T. I loved the fact that Katy and Shang-Chi were platonic friends.
Mm-hmm.
I loved having that there because it's kind of like it's actually showing as opposed to reinforcing that like there can be platonic relationships. They don't have to be, and that they are misunderstood by the other.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, and in no way are they comparable in terms of skill level or anything of that regard, but like Nat and Steve's relationship.
Yes.
Like I like how it's just like everyone was like, oh yeah, they'd be really good together. I'm like, no, keep them as friends. They're dope as friends, and they work together well in that regard.
Yeah. Like there's a part in the one point at the very beginning, I was like, oh yeah, they're kind of cool together, but at the long run, no. But there's a difference between these two though, in the sense that like Nat and Steve are like friends through work, right? Where these people are friends through childhood, so their bonds are very different, right? So here's the thing. I do think that they are laying the groundwork for them to be in a relationship, but if they do it, what I think that they'll do, and I hope that they do, is that it's either only starts at the end of the next major film that they're in together, or if there's a lot of screen time with them, or it's like the third film that they're in together, because it feels like something that's like
the weight of the travels changed it.
Yeah, like it's going to take time to get there, and if they do, because otherwise it becomes typical. But yeah, I think it's something that they could draw out, and it could be beneficial in that way. One thing I also thought was going to be something I thought was going to happen in this movie, and if it were to happen, I hope it happens later, not in the first film because if you do it, then it ends up becoming typical. So he said, he's like, at one point he's like, oh, I couldn't kill the person that killed my mother. And then he's like, well, I lied. And then he never said anything else about it. And I thought he was going to, because I never saw Awkwafina's father, Katy's father. I thought that her father was going to be the one responsible. And that's how they end up meeting. That's why they're friends. Because he killed their father and then felt bad, but never said anything. And that's how he knows her. Because he seems like a kid by himself on the run.
From Falcon and Winter Soldier style.
Yeah, and so what I'm hoping is if that my theory is true on that, it doesn't come out until after they've overcome another giant obstacle.
Man, that's so on the nose.
That is
because if it happened in this movie, it would have been rushed and it would have just ended up feeling like, oh, great, another thing, typical. But if it happens, if they go into like Doctor Strange and they do a big thing together and they get through stuff and she becomes more powerful and whatever skills she develops, and their bond is deeper, and it starts leading into that relationship, and then he tells her that, and then it's like, hit in the face.
Do we know what happened with the father? Like, was that mentioned at all?
No, it wasn't mentioned at all.
We saw him right when he showed up. Well, not the father, about the gangster. We saw him show up, but they never showed the death, and like that was one of the weird things that they never showed it, and like they made such a big deal about like setting it up, and then like we know that like, that's. I gotta watch the movie again because I need to check for that.
So that's my theory, and this is where I'm like, I would feel the relationship be really impactful if they start to develop a relationship, and he has to reveal the truth that's why they were friends in the first place.
Wow.
Well,
because if it's done right and tastefully,
she did say that she was the one who saved him from the bully, and that's how they became friends.
Oh yeah, they did say that. They did say
but that doesn't change the fact that like he could have just like spin around her, that sort of thing. Like
because like if he killed her father and felt guilty about it, it's like the Winter Soldier sticking around, and then they end up developing a deep bond, and he's always held that burden.
Right,
because when he said he's like I'm not like the person you he's alluding to a dark past, and then he just said like, well, I killed the person with my mother. It's like, and then she was like completely like, well, it makes sense like with everything that happened.
You were like 14 and your dad sent you out on a hit.
Yeah, after being trained to be an assassin for 7 years, right? It's like, how like fucked up that is. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's all true. But I'm like, the fact that they like, he never said. I was waiting for him to say more. He never said more, and I was like,
what do you think, T?
I like that idea. It's just, I think I'd like it more if Winter Soldier didn't do it first.
Fair.
That's true.
Because it for me it feels so on the nose now. And if they do the same reveal, it's just I don't know if it's gonna have the same weight as it did with the Winter Soldier, because we didn't they were building up to that, and then that final reveal, and then actually we didn't even get closure for that really at the end. So maybe if they do it better.
And also if they do it,
I like the build up. I mean, if like what Darcy's saying, if they build it up over a couple of films and then it's later revealed, and then he has to deal with that burden of like carrying that weight and not knowing how to tell her, and that because then they start getting closer more on a romantic level, and then he has to now risk all of that and share that information.
Yeah.
And
the thing is like becoming like getting into a relationship with your best friend is already a very precarious, stressful situation, because like on top of that.
So it does hold a lot more weight in that regard than what they did in the Winter Soldier. So if it plays out that way, then I'd be into it, I think.
I had a theory or an idea how you would do this, but I don't think it would make any sense. I was like, what if he killed the man and then met her and had no idea that was her father? But it probably doesn't make sense because she probably has pictures from that in the house. But I'm like, that would also be if there was a way where, like, let's say they had a strange relationship with the father and they never kept pictures, so he'd never seen who her father was, and he met her like months later, so he had no way to know. That would be a really interesting way to actually do it, where it's not the same story. Like, the reveal isn't his reveal. Somebody else reveals it
for them.
And then they're like, and horrible. But yeah, there's a lot of complexity there because their relationship is built and they have weight. And I think there's a lot of, it can really evolve into something where if all that stuff kind of comes to a head, they can do it really well if under the right hands.
All right. Kind of blew my mind a little bit right now.
Yeah.
I got to watch this movie again to kind of like I gotta watch this movie again for like a lot of reasons, but like I want to watch it again now for that to see if that theory actually holds up, because that would be dope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I kind of hope it does, but at the same time, I'm also just really curious to see how he's gonna play into Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, you guys have any last minute things you want to bring up?
Wait, is he gonna be in Doctor Strange?
He has to be now.
especially with Wong showing up and being like, we have a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a connection to Doctor Strange in some kind of way.
That or he's going to be in like the Marvels.
What's the Marvel?
That's this Captain Marvel 2, but that has like the Miss Marvel.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
Incidentally, I really hope that like how you guys were describing like how you were emotional at the end of Black Panther and like how your girl was feeling towards the end of this movie, I want to bawl my fucking eyes out at Miss Marvel. Like, please let that be good. Please let that be good.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think would be next in terms of like representation? Yeah. No, I like after you.
I'm like, let the brown people have something, man.
Yeah. We just lied something else.
To be honest, like Eternals has a lot of representation in there. Like we got brown, we got black, we got.
But it probably.
I think, frankly, Latin American.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like
or indigenous.
Yeah. The whole
I think that needs to be next. With what's going on right now.
Yeah. Actually, technically speaking, what's going on right now, in Canada, it's a little bit different than what's going on in America.
Yeah.
Fair point.
But like nonetheless, like I think Latin American and indigenous would be like the next big ones.
Yeah.
Also, I think LGBTQ, because like Disney's been very, very, very shy with that one.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, like Eternals will be good, but I just don't think it's gonna have like as much. I hear it's gonna be very culturally impactful.
It's gonna be like just like but representative. It's like we're all in.
But how much depth do you get really?
Exactly.
So yeah, there's Latin. I feel is a very important one to hit, but LGBTQ is also another.
Basically, like LGBTQ, Latin American, and indigenous. Like we gotta get those front and center.
Do they have any like characters that have to like pull from the
deep
for that?
Oh yeah.
I can't think of ones because I don't know all the Marvel characters.
Oh, like the Marvel characters, like to be fair, he has already been shown for indigenous, or as I say, Native American, because indigenous. Well,
which character?
Longshot.
Who?
No, sorry. Is it Longshot? Yeah, Longshot. From do you remember in X-Men: Days of Future Past?
Okay, I'm not going to count anything from X-Men as good representation, bro. Or even I know what you're talking about.
They had representation.
I'm just saying MCU. Do we have any characters or in Marvel in general?
Well, if they're going to bring in the X-Men and the mutants, they can do him. And wait, hold on.
I just meant like a character
he was in that TV series, Gifted. Or
yes, but I mean, like, do we have any characters that we can focus a whole film on, not like throw them into the mix of something else?
I know what you're talking about.
Look at Shang-Chi and Guardians of the Galaxy. Like they were like CD level characters, and like they made entire films about them. So like,
I just meant, who do we have that's top of mind in Marvel that we think maybe they pull in?
For Latin American,
Miles Morales is half.
Yeah, like I would say that. Yeah, I would say that. I don't know the characters very well, to be honest.
I think Miles Morales would be the first Latin that they would probably bring in, because it's a big one that they're anticipating, and it would emphasize a little more of his.
That one's going to be hard because like Miles Morales is considered the Black Spider-Man, so people are going to be like, so he's no longer a Black Spider-Man.
Not to play it down, but to emphasize like how they did in the
Spider-Verse,
Spider-Verse, because they did a good job of kind of showcasing he's a bit of both.
But the thing is, like, that's taking away, like, that's splitting the representation when, like, all, like, Black Panther, Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, all of them are putting them front and center.
Yeah.
So, like, we need a character that's, like, yeah, absolutely, like, play that up. But, like, I think, like, for the representation, like, how happy would be if, like, they split that up. So, I'm sure there's a Latin American hero. I know I'm forgetting it right now. It's, like, they're on the cusp of my mind, but I can't remember it right now. Yeah. But for LGBTQ, there are tons of gay characters they can choose from. Like even Wanda's children, when they get older, Wiccan is gay. And then with indigenous, there's Longshot, but also there's I think there's one other. I just can't remember his name right now. It's probably really offensive. And probably need to retcon that. And like, but yeah. So those are the next representation ones that I can think of.
Interesting.
Long shot already feels pretty bad.
They probably have to fix that a lot.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. All right.
Oh my god.
We'll volley it back to you, T.
All right. Well, I guess this is it for the podcast. So I'm your boy Tactix.
Yo, it's just Darcy here.
This is Big Geek Umar. Please like and subscribe, people, and also keep watching us. I messed that up. Live long and prosper. There it is. Damn it! I can never get this right.